Episode 7, Me Dark presents Scary Movie Madness. We are back.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, so I think I wanted to start this off with just reiterating the contest again.
Yep.
Because I feel like there was a little bit of confusion, even though you really laid it out.
I mean, not really confusion. I think that there's excitement, which I'll take.
Yeah.
So just as a reminder, we're running a contest all through November. I can't believe November is almost over. It's like we're halfway through. It's nuts. But for every interaction basically that we get during the month of November, we are giving you a entry into our contest. So whether it is that you followed us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, or comment on any of our posts, any single post, your comments will go into the drawing to win. And then we also had a bonus for anyone who wants to review our podcast. So one of the things that really helps us get off the ground is reviews and engagement. So if you head on over to iTunes, that tends to be our most popular. You can go ahead
Is it iTunes? It's not iTunes anymore. I think it's just called Apple Podcast.
Well, I went on my phone to iTunes. I search Me Dark Presents. It pulls up the podcast. Right. However you access your podcast on Apple. But anyway, we'll have a whole little quick video in this. But you basically have to go to our main page in Apple Podcasts, scroll to the bottom of the page, and you'll see the option to rate and review. And don't forget, because your name there will differ from social media, just make sure that you come back to us and let us know who you are, and we'll make sure that you get an entry. So we are super excited about this contest. We've had a lot of engagement so far, but let's keep it coming. We got like half the month to go.
Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to be introducing actually some new segments into this episode.
Gotta shake things up.
Shake things up. We'll have a little bit of fun. We'll play a couple games.
This is lucky number 7.
Well, the thing is, we're sort of evolving this as we go, right? So
it was just a random idea because we were bored as shit. Let's just say,
as most people are right
call
now.
a spade a spade. Yeah. And, we were getting into the Halloween spirit, and we were conversating about movies, and it kind of came into this idea of like, well, we got all this time, let's do a podcast. And now 7 episodes deep,
trying to figure out what other kind of fun things that we can do with it.
Exactly.
But
we don't want you to just hear us talk about movies,
right? Well, we did watch 2 more movies.
Yes.
At least one of them could be considered a movie. I think the other one is closer to a snuff film.
Jesus.
The movie in question there is I Spit on Your Grave from 1978. Now, you and we watched the remake of this. I think last year. I didn't know it was a remake. You did. You were aware of the original.
I knew about the movie. One of my friends had told me about it because he knew how much I loved horror. He's like, have you ever seen? And as a woman, it's a very hard film to watch if you don't know what it's really going to turn into. So just kind of like trigger warning for anyone. It's a very aggressively brutal film, but the silver lining is that bitch is a beast. She
is a beast, and that's a little teaser actually for later when we're gonna be we're gonna be selecting the greatest horror movie heroines of all time.
Scream queens, babe. Scream queens.
Scream queens.
I should have worn my specific. I had specific hair things for that.
So you and I'll do a little back and forth. We'll select our teams, and then we'll have the audience basically vote on who has the better group of female badasses from horror films. I am pretty sure that Jennifer from I Spit on Your Grave will be one of the selections because she is a total badass, as you say. So this was written and directed by Mir Zarki. I don't know how to say his name. Didn't even look it up in preparation for this podcast because he's literally done nothing else but this.
But it's insane because this movie, as brutal as it is, the silver lining to it all is that exploitation films are exactly that. They're exploitation of humans and our way of life. And one of the main theme in this is exploiting women and exploiting them, from the men's point of view that they can just take advantage and do whatever they want. And it's a horrible, horrible mindset. But then he turns it around and he shows that women can be powerful, women can be strong, and women can be resilient, and women can fight back. And I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, you get a little bit of that Last House on the Left vibes with this one, right? I mean, you could say that he might have been inspired by that movie and by Wes Craven's initial idea of
poorly executed idea,
right? But this horrific concept of these men, you know, taking advantage of a woman in a brutal fashion like that, where they're basically gang raping her in the woods. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of parallels there, except Mir doesn't do the Wes Craven thing where he shifts the tone and, you know, injects some comedic scenes in the goofy police. He sets the tone and he stays there.
That movie has nothing but tension the entire time. It is from the sounds. I don't even want to say the soundtrack, but like the ambient sounds, the music. There's so many moments when I'm thinking about the movie right now that makes me tense just hearing it in my head again. And you're just sitting there with this like whole body feeling of like, this is not good.
No, you and I had a lot of moments watching this movie where we were both uncomfortable with what we were watching.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is by design, and this is part of exploitation, and why I find exploitation to be so scary and to be the creme de la creme of horror movies, because it is that stuff that's uneasy to watch, because you know that this is a reflection of reality. Like, these things actually happen.
Yeah, it's pushing the capacity of us as humans to its limits, right? In the darkest of ways. That's what these exploitation films are. Is it's exploring the darkest corners of the human mind and what they're capable of, and that is one of the most terrifying things possible.
For sure. So Camille Keaton plays the role of Jennifer, the aforementioned Jennifer Badass. Really, really difficult role to play. Because on the one hand, she has to be sort of weak and vulnerable. And then the flip side is she also has to be, you know, strong and powerful, and flipping that switch and having the audience buy into it is a really difficult thing to do for an actress. I think she absolutely kills it here.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I wasn't even doubting her badassery. Like, I was like, she's about to fuck shit up.
Yeah, because even when you're going through the scenes of them, you know, they're ripping off her clothes and they're each taking their turns with her in the woods, she gets up and just starts to like, okay, you know, this just happened, but I'm going to stand up on my own 2 feet.
I'm not going to be broken by this.
I'm not going to be broken by this, and I'm going to try to just get away. No matter what, I'm just going to keep pushing forward. You know, and I think that that's really helpful in having that shift later on, because you really see that this is somebody that is totally capable of standing on her own 2 feet and standing
her will
up for
is
herself.
Never broken. Throughout every one of those scenes, no matter what they do, her will to live never goes away.
Sure. So the theme of this one, or how they set it up, is she's an aspiring writer who basically she goes out into the middle of nowhere to write. Funny theme that gets carried over into this episode, as we're going to be talking about the movie Misery later. Also a writer who goes out basically into the middle of nowhere to write. What is it with writers? Is this like a thing? Like,
the isolation. You need to be like away from all distractions and
need utter and complete concentration.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting in those times, right? Like, nowadays, where do you really get isolation? It's not a thing.
Difficult. I know. I've heard on some podcasts that I listen to, because I listen to a lot of podcasts that are driven by or hosted by comedians, and obviously comedians they have to constantly be writing. You know, it's a totally different kind of writing to this, because obviously, you know, these people are trying to write, you know, 100-page novels.
Yeah.
But you know, some of those comedians would say, like, you know, what I'll do is I'll disable my Wi-Fi. And there's actually like applications that you can download for your computer that basically put you into an isolation mode, where it's like a sensory deprivation tank, essentially, where it's just a writing prompt on a screen, like an old school, like black screen with white type. And you can't get any messages. You can't, while the application is running, like nobody can get in touch with you. There's no way to get distracted from, you know, a Twitter pop-up or an email or whatever.
That's horrifying to me.
But, you know, when they describe it, it kind of makes sense, because I'm like, yeah, you know, especially like you're saying in today's modern world, like, how do you escape from the constant, it doesn't matter if you're talking about work, whatever you do, because you're constantly available for work, especially now with a lot of people working from home. You're constantly available from, your friends can always get in touch with you. Family members can always get in touch.
Yeah, I mean, you've got phone calls, text messages, Slack, email, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Now, I don't know how that applies to this. Obviously, they're living in a time where it's
well,
very
no, that's
difficult.
what I'm saying. It's like interesting. Like, how hard would it be to isolate? I don't know, somewhere safe, like your house.
Right.
Like, I guess that's the comparison I was trying to make of like, did you really need to go deep into the woods somewhere, or could you have just?
I think it's just sort of that set piece that sort of gets played out. Of like, because there's that other movie with Johnny Depp, right? Where he's a writer and he goes into like seclusion in the cabin. Yeah. And he starts like hallucinating or seeing
Secret window.
Boom. I don't believe I cared for that movie, but I don't remember much of it.
I like that movie.
Well, you also went through a crazy Johnny Depp obsession phase.
I did.
And now
R.I.P. the good version of Johnny Depp. He's a mess.
Yeah. Well, I love you, although we're starting to realize why he's a bit of a mess, right? That whole thing with his ex-wife, Amber Heard, she sort of drove him off a cliff. But that was kind of a sad thing to get. He was like basically abused the other way. Like,
well, let's call a spade a spade. I'm not trying to victim blame or anything. That's a toxic ass relationship.
Oh, for sure.
Some of y'all out there maybe need to read about it, take some notes, and realize you got the same shit going on. But they're just toxic people together is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So she goes out into, this secluded place. I guess, is it clear? Is she renting this house? Did she buy this house? She's renting?
Yeah, it's a rental. So
she comes across these guys. They seem harmless at first. Really, they're
just like dumb townies.
Yeah, there's really not much there. It's, she has a bit of an interaction and then.
Typical kind of like 70s vibe too, right? Like always the dumb townies.
Right. So she comes across one of them, Matthew, who's a little slow.
Yep. And he seems harmless and he seems sweet and he seems nice and she's just...
Terrible actor.
It was really bad. That's probably the major gripe with this film is that they were trying to make him, mentally disabled in some way, like a learning disability or something like that.
But the guy actually isn't and doesn't know how to do it.
But the guy's not, and instead he just played a dumb person, which is kind of insulting. But
he doesn't do a good job of it.
He doesn't. There's moments where it works, and then there's moments where it took me out of the brutal part of the movie because I get why they needed him in it, right? The basis of the character. It's like kind of the darkest moment where these other people are taking somebody who is disadvantaged and kind of making an example of him and a fool of him.
Well, they get on him because he's a virgin, right?
Right. Like, again, making example, embarrassing him, right? Like the exploitation of her, but then you add in this character and just really kind of drive it home.
It does drive it home. Yeah, because the whole thing is they basically go after this girl because he reveals that he has a thing for her and they're just boys being boys. Oh, well, you're a virgin. We're going to get this girl for you. Like, we're going to do you this favor.
Never say boys.
And, he doesn't really know. Well, that's just a figure of speech.
Old adage, but I hate it.
So, well, in their warped and twisted mind, this is justified, so they're going to go and get this girl for him that he's really uncomfortable with it, obviously. He doesn't really want.
He passes up like twice, I think, right? He's like, no, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready.
Yeah, so when they first get a hold of her, well, they start intimidating her first, and then they get a hold of her, and, they drag her out. They get a hold of her boat. They drag her into this remote part of the woods. She's basically, she's far from home at this point, and they rip all of her clothes off, and they just start repeatedly basically just taking turns holding her down and raping
and not
her.
Only that, but letting her get away and think she's free only to show up again. That's probably the most horrifying part of this. You can't forget that like one person attacks her,
they let her go,
they laugh about it, they clean themselves up, they let her wander away, and she thinks she's safe, and then boom, they show up again, right? And it's this repeated thing, and
which is probably one
of them or four?
There's four of them, and it's probably one of the best scenes in the movie that doesn't, because the best scenes of the movie are when these fucks get what's coming to them. Yes! Those are the best parts of the movie. But the best, I guess, one of the better like rape scenes, which is horrible to say. But so the first time it happens, Johnny, who's like the leader guy, he's trying to get Matthew to do it. Matthew doesn't want to do it, so Johnny does it, right? And then that's when they kind of let her get up and go. And she's just wandering into the woods at this point. She's completely naked. She's physically injured. And she's just wandering around. And it's basically, it just looks like endless woods.
It's like Blair Witch 2.0.
Yeah, it's just like this hopeless just backdrop of just endless woods. And you get this harmonica music starts to play. Oh. And you're like, what the and then you see one of the guys on the rock, Andy is his name.
Yeah.
He's sitting on the rock just playing harmonica really well, by the way. This guy rips the harmonica. Fucking rips it. I was like, Jesus. And that music playing with all of them like slowly surrounding her.
Right, like they woods. Slowly show up and here's another one. And she's like, fuck.
It's absolutely gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
To watch, because you slowly see them all appear, out from the trees, and this guy's just ripping on the harmonica, like,
and you just realize, like, they look at this just as it's just a game.
They're just stalking her like prey in the woods. Yeah.
They know that there's nowhere she's gonna run, nowhere she's gonna go, and they're like, yeah, go ahead, run off, we'll find you again. And it's just completely a disgusting game.
Yes. So, I mean, what he's going for, he completely nails here. Like, it's really well done.
It's horrifying. It's terrifying. Mm-hmm. You don't want to watch it again.
No.
Like, I'll tell you that. I don't know that I could.
Well, yeah. And then after this scene was over, I was like, oh my God, like, I cannot wait for these motherfuckers.
Yeah,
because we knew, obviously, from the remake that she gets brutal revenge on them.
And like I said, that's the thing that I had to lead with this movie is
Couldn't wait for
the
that.
only reason I was able to even watch this and celebrate it is knowing that the redeeming quality is like, no, this bitch is smarter, stronger, and she's gonna whoop your ass.
Right.
Like, that was the best part of getting through those scenes, was like, I'm just waiting for what the fuck you do to them.
Well, again, interestingly enough, this is sort of the whole theme of Last House on the Left, right? Is that what makes those scenes palatable for you as a viewer is knowing that there's revenge on the back end of it to some degree.
The good guys get the revenge, right? It's not like these are situations where the happy ending is a traumatic ending in the best way, right? Like it's we talked about this, I think, early on, of like the problem with most American horror is that they always want the happy ending and it's beautiful and, bunnies and roses and rainbows appear, and like that doesn't make a horror movie. That just makes me go, oh, well, I just wasted an hour and a half. But this one goes beyond. Right? It takes every moment where they could pull back and be like, oh, maybe we won't be that aggressive. And like, no, we will. And that's the best, right? Like, and that spinning part of, the bad guys get fucked up is what you hope to see.
And the first bad guy to get fucked up is Matthew, the slow guy. Before they leave her, they make Matthew kill her. And he pretends to kill her.
Yeah, I love how they pick that guy out of the entire group.
Right.
It's like just scapegoating the shit out of him.
Yeah, but I think it's because deep down, like Johnny and all those guys are pussies and really couldn't do it.
100%.
So they just pretended like they're tough guys and could do it. And they're like, let's just make Matthew do it because we can't.
Like, I'm not going to actually kill this girl.
That was what I got out of it, because I feel like
he's dumb. He'll do whatever we say.
Yeah. Any guys who pull shit like this, you're pussies. Like, I'm sorry. You're a fucking pussy.
You are. Yeah. See? That's a real man.
So he rides his bicycle over there. But beforehand,
and kill her.
He's like, let me put this knife in my pants and ride my bike over there. And we're like, how does one put a giant knife in their pants and then ride a fucking bicycle?
Stab himself in the leg. I just can't, like, this phone is shorter, and if I was sitting, it would be stabbing me.
Well, yeah. It doesn't.
Or the side of the blade would be digging into my, I don't know. Again, this is the character that is not the best part. Like, if you again, the remake of this, it is a lot more believable.
Well, and we just both pointed this out immediately. Like, it wasn't slipping by us. Like, how is he gonna ride a bicycle with a giant knife in his pants? Like, he's gonna stab himself.
Yeah, he definitely would have cut a main artery and just died right then and there. She wouldn't have had to done shit.
So the way that they do this though is like when he gets there, it's just like it cuts and he just has the knife in his hand.
Luckily, but that was you being like, I wonder how they're going to show.
I wanted to see how they were going to do it. Is he going to get off his bike and pull the knife out of his pants? Like, this is going to be so weird.
Oh my God, yeah. And I can't even think of a better way. Like, I don't know, ride the bike with the knife hanging out. There was no way.
There was no good way.
Yeah, there was no good way. Like, it would have been easier for him to like sneak into the house, go grab a knife, than it would have been like, let me take this one with me.
You could do like a knife holster, like on your belt or something like that.
Who the fuck has a knife holster handy? Nobody.
Definitely not this guy.
No, not this guy. He's lucky he can,
So basically, her approach is, I'm going to use my womanly charm on this guy.
I know he likes me.
Yeah, I'll just offer my body up to him, make him completely vulnerable.
He's already had it, so she's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
She wraps the noose around his neck, and she does like this intricate like pulley system.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
Right? Where she's laying there, he's doing whatever he's got to do, and she puts the noose around, and then she has the other side of it, and she's, yep.
No idea.
Ends up hanging him up on the tree. Epic kill.
That's what you get,
This is a badass bitch.
She is a badass bitch. That's a smart kill is what that is.
Smart kill. And probably the least brutal of the kills. I think she sort of has a little bit of a soft spot for Matthew, I think.
I feel like she kind of feels bad. He's manipulated. Right. Again, he's the scapegoat of the group, but she's like, you know what, motherfucker? You still could have said no the third time, and 100%, you didn't.
100%. So the best kill, I think you'll agree with me on this, is the Johnny kill. Mm-hmm. And how big is this man's ego that he actually buys into and believes that after everything he fucking put her through, when she comes onto him, he's like, oh yeah, this is totally normal. Like, she's into me now. And totally buys it, like hook, line, and sinker. Like the ego on this motherfucker where he's like, oh yeah, now... after I raped and abused and physically assaulted this woman,
left you for dead.
Left her for dead, tried to kill her. Mm-hmm. She's now just going to be like, I want your dick.
Yeah, no, sir.
Well, she does want his dick in a different way. Explain this scene.
In the best way. I mean, you basically just know what's about to happen. Like, reiterating how dumb they are. You're reiterating how savage she is, in the sense of like, there's no hard line for her of what she's willing to do.
She gets him in the bathtub.
Oh my God.
And she chops his dick right off. So she gets him going. So it's there. And
it's actually like a long drawn out thing too. Like, this isn't like she just quickly attacks him and
she's playing the whole game. She's singing the song.
She's having conversation. Mm-hmm. She's
getting him relaxed and at ease. Like, really
insane. Yeah. Like, that part of this to me is absolutely the smartest kill in this, right? Where she's able to set everything aside. She vehemently obviously hates these fucking people, but she doesn't even let it on once. No. You would almost be watching this going, wait, what's going on? Like, why is she being so nice? And like, you're like, oh no, she's not. Yeah, no. She manipulates the fuck out of him, gets him relaxed, gets him comfortable, and boom, you're about to bleed out in the bathtub, bitch. Enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. And at first, he doesn't even know what hit him.
Nope.
It's like this little shock moment where he goes, oh, it feels so good. It's painful. And she gets out of the tub, walks away, puts the knife down, and just walks out of the room.
Doesn't even have a concern in the world.
And he just looks down, and you just get this giant blood squirt from his crotch.
And the bathtub is now a bathtub of blood.
And he starts panicking. And as a man, I'm sitting there going, this is the worst way to die. There's no worse way to die than this. You hear it in his voice too, because she goes downstairs. We cut to her downstairs, and you just hear him upstairs panicking. Mm-hmm. You don't see it. It's a brilliant, brilliant choice by the director. So good. You don't see it. You just hear him, and the guy is just, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop bleeding. I can't. No. And it's just this consistent breaking of like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to bleed out.
How's that feel?
Yeah.
How do you like that?
And
not so much.
Yeah. At that moment, I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, there's no, if you ask me what the worst way to die is, I would just make you, I would say, just watch the scene in this movie for my Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have fun dying there, sir. And the complete lack of like, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
she just walks away. Absolutely
brutal movie. Insanely well done scene. There actually a lot of really well done scenes. I guess maybe this movie I know was banned a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Awesome title for this movie, by the way, too. I Spit on Your Grave. Like, really hammering home that, like,
100. Again,
I love the title.
They didn't give a shit what they did to her. Why should she care, right? And I will leave on one of the other kills that I just think back to the sound is important to talk about, which is the speedboat. Oh,
it kind of sounds like a chainsaw.
Kind of sounds like a chainsaw. It's the tension build, and it again is the character begging for his life. Like, I'm so sorry, I'm this, I'm that, like, don't do this to me. And it's like, dude, do you remember when I said that? Because probably said it a lot of times and y'all didn't listen to me, so why am I listening to you today? And the tension building of him just treading water as she circles and circles and the circle gets tighter. Like, incredible. Awesome. Absolutely incredible scene. And again, like, it's funny to me, like you said, they banned this movie, but they ban it because it's hard to watch, but it really is a pretty well done film for the time.
And it's the old adage, it's that life lesson that everybody should learn when you're 5 is, treat others the way you would want to be treated, right? So,
or do unto others as they do to you.
Right, because shit comes back around. It's the most simple principle of human decency.
Yep.
And when you see people failing at that basic premise of life and how all of us should live our life, you see somebody failing at it, it's like you can't help but just go, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this person. Like, I don't care what happens to you at this point.
There's no redemption.
You don't care what happens to anybody else.
Yeah, there's no redemption.
Yeah.
In the worst ways. Like, this is the worst of the worst.
For sure.
Yeah. Well.
All right. Well, are you ready? Because it's time to play Would You Rather.
Would you rather? Let's
do it. So I've come up with some Would You Rather scenarios from...
I don't know what they are.
From horror movies. Yes. So it's sort of like a this or that type of thing, but I think it'd be fun for us to just sort of like, have our takes on like it's almost
hash it out.
Yeah. Like what's harder to go through or what's scarier. So my first question, would you rather have to survive one night of the purge, right? So this is sort of like exploitation versus supernatural. Survive one night of the purge or one Freddy Krueger nightmare.
One night of the purge, fucking hands down.
Yeah, so immediately you don't even have to think about it.
I'm not even thinking about it. Like, I don't even need to. I already know why. Because I know the purge is coming.
Yeah.
I can booby trap the fuck out of my house.
So you would do one of the... So the way I'm picturing this, though, is like I'm plopping you out into the middle of the street of the purge.
Okay, but you didn't say that. See, now you're getting detailed.
Yeah.
You just told me I have to survive one night of the purge. You didn't say I had to participate.
You have to participate. That's the
I would
whole
still
thing.
do that anyway, because I would just have a chainsaw immediately.
That'd be your weapon of choice, a chainsaw? I would go with guns. I would have as many guns as possible.
Well,
what's stopping a gun?
I would have the chainsaw for the fear factor of it, right? Like, no one's coming next to you.
You would go the intimidation route with the masks and the...
Yeah. Like, just be like completely deranged.
You could have your bunny mask.
I'm not fucking with that one. Yes, my bunny mask. That's a moment. That would be probably my
bunny mask with the axe strapped to you and the chainsaw.
Yeah, I would have multiple weapons for sure, but the chainsaw would be like...
You definitely need some
intimidation.
Gun. You need a gun of some kind.
Yeah, I was actually like, like, do rocket launchers count? Because that might be the safest.
Holy shit! I mean, you needed some deep pockets to procure a rocket launcher or a bazooka. Of some
Obviously,
kind.
I can't have that. But I would go automatic weapon and chainsaw for sure. Like some machine gun. Like, come near me, I'm just gonna blow you to smithereens, motherfucker. And if I was gonna have to be out in the open of it, I would just stay close to my home.
Mm-hmm. So
and just be like chilling in the.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I guess in theory it should be easier to survive a night of the purge. It's the thing for me of, when I watch the concepts of the Freddy Krueger nightmares seem like they should be scary, but then like, remember we were talking about, when you're in a dream and you're trying to run and you can't, like there's all these limitations that you have sometimes in dreams, especially nightmares. It's almost like, that's very rarely happens in a Freddy Krueger nightmare. It's like he doesn't play those kind of games. It's almost like as long as you can figure out that you're in
the later ones.
Maybe
they get smarter, but like those are the things that really like when you're watching the Freddy movies and they are just living life in the dream. That's not what's scary to me because like then I'll just wake my ass up. Like what the hell? But to your point of like when you're in it, if you've ever had sleep paralysis, which I have had. It's the most terrifying feeling. And I always equate the idea of sleep paralysis with the idea of Freddy Krueger in your dreams. Mm-hmm. Because it's that feeling of I'm having this terrible dream and I can't wake up from it. And I don't know how to describe it any better, but it's like as if you're laying in bed and you can feel your eyes are open, but you're still in your dream.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if the sound of that doesn't terrify you, I don't know how else to make it scary.
I totally get where you're coming from.
Like it's like I'm in a moment between my awake life and my dream life. And I can feel that my eyes are open, laying in bed, but I'm still stuck in my head.
Now, does this happen to you often?
Yes.
Yikes.
Is
this some sort of a medical reason for this? Like,
I don't want to know. I don't want to be a fucking sleep study. I don't want to be, there's a movie. Maybe it's the Freddy Krueger movies. There is one where like they do the sleep study on her and stuff. And yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good on like sitting in a hospital bed with what are those things? Nodes attached to me while I sleep. No, thank you. I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it when it happens.
Now, interestingly enough, the line that I draw here between these two is I don't like weapons. I don't like guns. I don't like violence in real life, which is ironic because I love this shit.
We're peaceful people. We just like jokes.
Yeah, so the idea of putting me in the purge is like I got to go like kill people and hurt. Like, I don't want to do that. It's so off-putting to me where it's like, all right, I have to survive one nightmare. Maybe I could do that. Like, my odds of dying in both are pretty high.
Yeah.
But the nightmare is probably going to be over with quicker. I don't really have to hurt anybody. I just have to protect myself.
That's fair, but I'm not willing.
All right, so you're going with you'd rather do the purge.
I'm still keeping I'd rather be in the purge. It's real life. I know what I can control.
I'd rather do the nightmare. I think it'd be a fun story if I survived it. Whereas if you survive the purge, if you're in that world, it's like, well, a bunch of people have survived the purge. It's not special. But if you're the guy who survived a Freddy Krueger nightmare, it's like, what? What happened?
Wait, tell me again.
Holy shit. See, like, where'd you get those 3 slashes across your chest? Like, that's a badass scar, dude.
I actually used to have recurring dreams growing up of that, where like I would be at my house and my sister would be taken by Freddy Krueger. And it was
like, where's he taking her to?
I don't know. So it would be that like we're home and like all of a sudden I would see this van drive by and I would see my sister like screaming out the back like this. And then in the driver's seat, it would be Freddy and I'd be like, no.
Wow.
And it would happen very frequently. So, I feel as though I've already survived them.
All right. Well, yeah, you've had nightmares with Freddy Krueger.
But I'm not into it. Right. So like, I'll just take the purge.
All right. Next one. Would you rather spend 1 weekend in Antarctica with the Thing?
I'm already going to choose whatever option B is.
Or 1 weekend in the woods with the Blair Witch?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So in both scenarios, I'm thinking you have like a team with you. It's like you're going on an expedition with like your 3 best friends.
Oh my God.
Right? Which means that one of them can turn into the Thing and try to kill you at some point. And you're not going to know which one it is. Right? So that's the whole scary scenario there. Plus, you hate when it's cold. So the idea of having to be in Antarctica for a week is like, holy shit, we're going to be freezing. There's going to be this alien creature that's going to be mutating into one of us and trying to kill me. Or you have to survive a weekend in the woods with your friends and the Blair Witch is fucking with you.
Oh my God. I mean, these are equally horrifying because here's the thing. If I go with the Thing, there is a semblance of getting out. If I go with the Blair Witch, there's no chance I'm getting out. I'm dead. So like the Thing wins. The Blair Witch locks you into a Bermuda Triangle. You're fucked.
Well, if you go with our theory that the Blair Witch is the Bermuda Triangle, is that ever confirmed? That was sort of my take on it when we watched it recently, was like, oh, there's no way they can get out of this. They're just stuck in the circle because of the magic of the witch.
I don't know, but I think that is what it is. Like, there's no other explanation why they would be following the map and ending up in the same place.
I think I'm with you on this one. I don't want to do the weekend in the woods with the Blair Witch.
I'm never getting out. Because there's no chance.
And I think part of it is like, I don't believe in, those things at all, like the paranormal and the witchy stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm in the scenario of the Thing, I could almost buy it because there's like an alien creature. There's like an organic carbon life form.
But what if
that
you
my
become
brain
the
can
Thing?
go, okay, I understand it. This thing is like, it can latch onto a host. There's obviously this magical
It's tangible. It's there.
thing where it can like morph into people, but that's not that crazy. Like octopuses can camouflage and,
Fair enough.
So there's examples at least in nature that
chameleons.
So I would feel like, okay, this is just an animal of some sort that we have to deal with. It's terrifying, but it's not nearly as unexplainable. Because I feel like when you're in the Blair Witch, like if you don't believe in that stuff, your brain is trying to rationalize it and go to the logical end and be like, I can't piece this together, and therefore it's going to be harder for me to survive.
Yeah, but at the same time, now I'm thinking about it, but then the risk of the thing getting you.
Yes.
And you never come back. Oh my God, this is impossible.
It's impossible. I'm going to go with
I'm going to take my chances with the thing.
The thing. I think
because there's
I am too.
more of a likelihood that I could actually get out. Like Blair Witch, once I'm in, I'm fucked. So I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I guess if you're putting yourself in one of these movies, at least the thing, you were in some sort of like a military complex. Like they had access to weapons and ways to defend themselves. Yeah. Whereas the Blair Witch, it's just a bunch of filmmakers with cameras. Like you're fucked.
Yeah. With a tent. All
right. So last one. Would you rather have to escape from a Saw prison or get possessed like Regan in The Exorcist?
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Yeah. I know my answer.
Oh my God.
Saw prison, possession.
No shot. I don't think I could do the Saw prison. I'd be dead.
See, that's it. I'm on the possession. I'd rather do the possession thing because there's a chance on the back end of this, I'm going to be fine. Like I'm going to recover.
I don't know. I mean,
whereas Saw, I might be missing a limb. I might have to chop my dick off to get out of there. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, like Saw? No. Like, I'm thinking about all of those things. Like, oh my God. Like, I can't even pick one that's the worst in the scenario that I'm like, that's the reason I'm saying no. All of it is bad. Yeah. All of it. Not only that, but you're up against other people fighting for their lives and they may kill you. So there's that part of it.
Yeah. Although if you're possessed, you might be stabbing yourself in a place that you don't really want to be stabbing yourself. So there's that to consider.
You know.
All right, let's move on.
That is a lot.
Let's move on to our next movie, Misery. 1990.
An actual film?
An actual film. This one is another Stephen King one. Obviously, Stephen King plays all over this space. He's an absolute legend. This is one of my favorite Stephen King stories for sure. Directed by Rob Reiner, a classic.
But again, this is where we have to always recognize, like Stephen King writes amazing stories that are unique and super memorable, but it's always so important who the executor is on the film.
Yes. So Rob Reiner does an incredible job.
So good.
Interesting choice because he's not typically known for working in the horror space. This is, he did Stand By Me, which is another Stephen King one. So I'm guessing that was the connection with, he did such a good job with Stand By Me. I really, maybe Stephen King was like, I would really like him for this also. I don't know if he had a say, but I mean, Rob Reiner, he did Spinal Tap and The Princess Bride and A Few Good Men. Like these are not
Should have worn my Spinal Tap t-shirt.
You should have worn your Spinal Tap t-shirt.
Damn it.
That's a good one to go back and revisit. The Princess Bride, too. I would love to go back and rewatch that with Andre the Giant.
Okay.
And Billy Crystal. You don't like Princess Bride?
No. Are you okay?
Do we have to break up?
Did we just break up? Did we just come best friends?
My goodness. We're going to have a Princess Bride session at some point so we can get you on board with this.
I'm good.
All right, so this movie stars James Caan and Kathy Bates. I mean, this is like A-list all over the place.
Insane. I mean, Kathy Bates, this is pretty much one of the movies that made her, right? Like,
this has got to be her most iconic and best role of all time.
Isn't she also Dolores Claiborne? How convenient.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure she played Dolores Claiborne.
Well, she plays Annie Wilkes in this, and she is a #1 superfan psychopath.
Superfan. Such a term. And yeah, like this movie is the definition of superfan. This is
this is that song Stand by Eminem.
Yes, it is 100%. Like superfan is a dangerous category to be in. Very dangerous. It is the separation between a healthy interest than a damaging obsession, right?
You and I have talked about this stuff recently of like, it's basically our American culture and how we love to put people up on pedestals and worship them
people.
like deities and gods. And I'm just like, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I've come so far away from that. Like, I just look at these guys as people pretty much. I'm like, yeah, he's an actor. That's what he does for a living. Like, I don't get like that heart palpitation-y thing with this anymore because I'm an adult. I don't understand how like full grown men like still have like these obsessions about, even like music icons, right? Like I used to, obviously a huge part of my life and a huge guiding light in my life has been like, rock singer frontmen. And now it's like, I do what they do too.
They're
like,
cool dudes.
Yeah, they're just cool dudes.
I do think that, and again, this is a comparison of the time with the superfan part is the untouchable nature of celebrities or, iconic figures in American culture. I think very early, way before social media, these were these people that you idolized because they did things you wanted to do and it felt so far out of reach and you're like, wow, this person is here and I'm here, right? And
so you set that goal.
You set that goal, right? And they feel untouchable. And I think what social media has done is a lot of those celebrities are no longer untouchable.
Yeah,
you can DM them.
That's definitely a part of it.
You can comment and they can like what you say. And now you feel
Could you
like
imagine
there's
if Annie Wilkes had Twitter and she could just message him and constantly berate him with these questions?
There's definitely people out there that still do that.
Son of a bitch.
But it should be a little bit more of the minority than the majority is what I guess I'm getting at, right?
So,
like more people now, it doesn't feel like they're these superhumans. Mm-hmm. It just feels like people.
Now, I will say that probably when it comes to this concept, Annie's isolation and loneliness probably play a huge factor as to why she grasps onto this book series. So James Caan plays the role of Paul, who's a famous author. He is well known for writing these misery novels. He has a whole series of them. It's like a Harry Potter type of thing. And Annie is absolutely, utterly obsessed with this character and this whole story. So every time Paul finishes one of his novels, he goes out to close to actually where Annie lives. And he stays at this lodge and he has this whole superstitious thing that he goes through, which is a really nice setup, I think, for this concept because it really makes how everything plays out after that really tie together and nice and make it all believable.
She can like guess his next move.
Yes. So she has all this information from like about all these interviews that he's given because she's followed him all this time. And he has this sort of weak spot that she knows that she can exploit. So when he crashes his car in this blizzard and is basically, he's toast. He's dead if she doesn't come and rescue him because he's going to be just buried under all the snow in minutes, basically.
Yeah.
And, he's knocked out. Like, he's not getting out of this. He would just suffocate. So
and
she
as you
saves
learn,
his life.
There's no shot that he would even be able to get himself out because his legs are destroyed.
Yeah. That's pretty gnarly, right? When he finally wakes up and she reveals to him like what happened and who she is.
She's so calm.
She's basically showing him like his injuries. Like, here's how fucked up you are.
Yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
Here's what your shins look like. But don't worry.
Yeah.
It was one thing that she was a nurse, but I thought she was going to be not a real nurse, and it was going to be like she's just experimentally taking care of him. And that would have been way more terrifying in my opinion, but still horrifying nonetheless.
Yes. Yeah. So a great setup. She's immediately like a very, very intriguing character.
Yeah.
You immediately, Kathy Bates just completely magnetic and draws you in.
The way she switches, she's like the female Norman Bates.
Right. Well, and it happens pretty quickly too, because when she rescues him, she sees that he has this, the raw pages of his next novel in this little briefcase. And because she's being so kind to him, and basically saved his life, when she asks him if it's okay if she could read it, because this hasn't even gone to his editors yet or his publishers. This is like, he just finished this book.
Yeah, this is just a fan who, someone who reads my books who happened to save my life. The least I can do is let her read this fucking book.
Right. So this book is not part of the Misery series that she's accustomed to. He takes a totally different tone here. There's a lot of heavy profanity in it, and Annie doesn't like that. right? She doesn't, for as crazy as she is,
she's not a
she
crazy.
doesn't like swearing, and she comes up with some amazing swears in this movie too.
She does.
Right? Because like
versions of a swear,
different versions of a swear. You cock-a-doodie, she says.
That's what we call dude sometimes.
We do. I mean, but that's a cool little character touch. But when she tries to give him the critique, because he asks her, oh, like, what do you think? She's feeding him soup. Like, what did you think of the book so far? And she's mortified by it. And once she starts getting going about her critique, she really flips that Norman Bates switch like you're talking about, right? And
it's similar to the scene in Psycho when, you know, she mentions Norman's mother and like putting her in a home, right? That same split moment in Psycho. Yeah. It's very similar in here of like when it switches on, she's just like, boom.
But she ramps it up to 11.
Yeah.
No pun intended, Rob.
It was like, woof.
Yeah. So the whole scenario on its face right away is just, it's truly horrific.
Yeah.
You know, this concept of like, this guy is a prisoner in this random woman's house who's like an obsessive fan of his. Like, there's no telling what she will do. And she's clearly unhinged, right? And she's making up all this stuff about my phone lines are down from the blizzard and the roads are closed.
No ambulance can get here, but she can leave and go into town.
Well, that's just it. She has to go to town because the last Misery book in the series, it just came out, right? And she doesn't miss a book. She has the guy at the main store set a copy aside for her as soon as it comes in. So she can't contain herself. She has to drive into the store to get this book and bring it back. And this is Paul's first notion of like, wait, what's going on? Like, we can't get me to a hospital, but you were able to go to town and buy my book?
Talk to anybody in town and be like, yo, I got this author here and he's fucking dying in bed.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. So that's gotta be like, could you imagine like what would be going on in his mind at that point of like, oh my God, like, you know, the thing yesterday of her like yelling about the profanity and now she seems to be lying about being able to get me to a hospital.
It all starts to unravel.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Would you say it's your favorite scene in this movie? I have a couple. There's a lot of great scenes.
What is my? I don't want to jump ahead. I would think that like from a horror standpoint and everything, I love the scene of when he finally turns the tables on her, like that whole part.
It's very satisfying.
It's so satisfying because it's realistic, right? Like I kept going like, how the fuck is he gonna get like she's outsmarted him so many times. How is he going to outsmart her this time?
Yeah.
And he plays on it's like almost a cyclical thing where she learned everything about him, but he was taking notes on her the entire time. And he knew.
Right. He was at that disadvantage.
Yeah. That she knew everything about him. Right. Like she knew that, hey, you're going to burn this script because it's your only one.
Well, that makes me think of, remember the scene where it's basically right after she drugs him and he's all tied up in the bed.
Yeah.
Right. And because she's discovered that he's gotten out of his room.
Right.
Right. Because this whole time, like she locks him in the room and whenever she, leaves or goes off, she makes sure that he's locked in there and he can't get out. Right. Mm-hmm. So he eventually does figure this out, like you're saying. And the way that she figures it out is there's a little like ceramic penguin that sits on a table in her living room, and he happens to knock it over with his wheelchair when he's out of the room. Luckily, he grabs it before it could break, but when he puts it back, he faces the penguin the wrong way.
And she knows that he's always due south.
He always faces due south. She's so that attention to detail that you're talking about is such a huge part of her character.
Nothing is lost.
Yeah, it really makes you believe that this woman could really hold him in this spot for a long time because she's thought of everything and she's
covered every single area. So I mean, I think it's that same thing of like, all right, this woman is outsmarting me and everything that I need to do because she's taking notes on me. I'm taking notes on her. And the one takeaway is that if there's anything that will make this bitch break down, it's these Misery books. And
yes. So there's a couple parallels going on here. Because you have the fact that the book series in question is Misery. Mm-hmm. And he himself is now ironically just living in misery, both figuratively and literally.
Well, he got the isolation he wanted.
Well, yeah, but he's himself in misery. And now she discovers that he has killed Misery in the latest book release. this does not sit well with her. And she basically is like, you know that book that you just finished? Well, screw that book. You're lighting it on fire right now. And you're going to start another Misery book.
You're going to bring her back to life.
Yeah.
And you're going to fix this.
And you're going to do it right. She makes him do it a couple times because he doesn't follow his own threads through well enough for her liking. Because he was never planning on following any thread through. There was no thread to pull. Nothing. She was dead.
And it's, you get to credit me.
Yeah.
And thank me in this book and dedicate it to me. And it's like, well, okay, so crazy bitch.
Poor bastard, he has to write this Misery book while living in misery with this super fan psychopath. So it gets to the point where she's playing this sick game with him back and forth. And he's trying to, like you said, drug her. He's coming up with all these different ideas of like, how do I get out of this? When it finally comes down to he's just about ready to finish the Misery book because he's been there. How long do you think he's been there? Over a year? Months?
I don't know if it's over a year, but it's got to be months for his legs to heal.
He doesn't get surgery on his legs. Like, that's all natural, slow healing process, basically. Her just switching out braces and bandages.
Yeah, and keeping him in bed and moving to a chair and straightening him out.
So he somehow recovers without surgery. This would have taken forever.
And especially he's an older dude. Like, it's not like he's a 16-year-old kid that's like, that shit'll heal in 5 days. Like, no, he's an old dude.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So he's been there a long time for him to now have full use of his legs. She figures out he gets out of his room, straps him down, and then the hobbling. How scary is the hobbling scene?
I didn't even know what the hell that meant at first.
Well, and she brings up like this thing about the diamond mines, like workers in the diamond mines or something who used to get out of line. I think it was, I don't freaking remember.
Something like that, yeah.
And she's like, they couldn't kill them because that would be like junking a Mercedes because it needs a new battery. No, they needed to, teach them a lesson, but make sure they can carry on working. So that's when they would do the hobbling. And she puts a giant block of wood in between his two legs, like by his ankles, and then sledgehammer. Bam, one side. Please don't do it. Please. Bam, other side, hobbled.
I can't even think about it.
Because you let out quite a gasp. Because they show it. They show the legs.
They show it. They show the foot go from this to this, and it's not pretty, and I hated it, and it was awful, and I didn't know what it meant when they said hobbling. I was like, oh, I thought like at first she was just gonna break his shin again or something and just like that, but somehow twisting your foot in a direction it does not belong is way worse.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, she has so many horrifying moments. She's really, truly a scary character for sure.
So scary. The way,
and she's a baby killer. It gets revealed that she worked in a maternity ward and was like killing infants.
I mean, it's like, what's worse, this or the, incestuous sadomasochistic,
oh my goodness,
religious extremist cannibals? I don't know. It's like
they're both terrifying in different ways. Oh, we caught another bad fake head in this.
We did catch. I was about to say,
our bad fake heads are piling up.
This is now going to just be a common thread in our podcast now of like, where do we just completely slack off in these films and use bullshit mannequin faces?
I mean, it is cool because you have the other parallel that I was getting at before was, she makes him burn his book. And then he writes her whole book up until the very end. And just before he's going to reveal all of the stuff that she's been dying to know.
Nope.
And he's like, now I'm going to light your fucking book on fire before you even have a chance to finish it.
Bitch gone. Up in flames. And that makes her fall to the ground in tears, blowing on it, trying to save it, which opens up the opportunity.
Typewriter to the face.
Smash you in the head, bitch.
They have a good fight. This is a good fight scene, but it does end with the bad fake head.
The fact that the face didn't even look like Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
At all. You could have easily cut that scene with her hitting her head on something that looked close enough. Or B, in Pet Sematary, and you argued with me on this, but I've seen it, and we can confirm it before we post this podcast, but the scene where Judd has
somebody can tell us we're wrong.
Yeah, someone tell me I'm wrong, but I've seen these pictures. The scene where Judd gets his mouth sliced by the little kid. Mm-hmm. That was a mannequin. That was not a mannequin, but it was a mechanical head. It was not his head. And it looked exactly like him.
Yeah, we've seen some great head sculpts.
Right. And it was for a 2-second
this
scene.
This is 1990, I mean.
So, yeah. Why couldn't they have at least gotten someone to make the mold of Kathy Bates' face, paint it, and maybe not have movement, maybe not have all those extras? You could have done it.
Yeah.
This was a shit-ass mannequin from the dollar store.
Yeah, I mean, this is what elevates the modern stuff up over some of the older stuff, and because it's just now you can really show things, and it really looks convincing. I
mean, it gets to a point where it's like hard to watch. Like when we start talking about movies like Martyrs, The Loved Ones, Eden Lake, all of those types of exploitation, the shit that they show you is unreal. I mean, you even think about it with I Spit on Your Grave, like they didn't really shy away in things.
Yeah, The Loved Ones has some great stuff.
The Loved Ones has some killer
The Loved
scenes.
Ones, probably one of the best horror movies of all time.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not American, so if you've never heard of it, it's an Australian film.
Oh, definitely go watch it.
It's
one of the best horror movies
amazing.
ever.
Like I can't wait to just watch it again. It's been so long. But the song in it alone is my favorite.
Incredible.
All right, sorry. But that was my point. It's like this movie is so good and then you use this shitty head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's still an A movie.
It's such an A movie. The story's cohesive. Yeah. The plot holes aren't there, right? No, like it's all logical. Like
great acting, great directing.
Yeah, like he catches on at the time that I think makes the most sense, right? Mm-hmm. And none of it feels forced. None of it feels like it couldn't have happened.
100% agree.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's move on to our horror movie heroines draft, or the Scream Queens, as you so elegantly put it. So, I'm going to let you go first. You get first pick.
Oh my God.
I think we should pick, let's go a team of 5.
Okay.
So the way this works is because you're picking first, I get 2 picks in a row.
What?
Yes, and then you 2 picks, and then me, we'll do it that way.
That makes the decision so much harder.
Or you want to just do, that's a snake draft.
I don't know what that means.
So a snake draft means it's going to start with you and end with me, and then we snake back around where it starts with me and ends with you. Or you could just do a linear 1, 2, 1, 2. I'll let you make the rules here. This is the first time we're doing this, so.
I don't know. You pick because none of that makes sense to me.
Really?
It doesn't.
I thought I explained it pretty well.
You did, but I'm not a gambler. I'm not a team drafter.
We'll just go back and forth because I feel like that's going to be easier for you to understand.
All right, so I'm looking at this list.
So this is going to be, the whole concept is we're building the strongest team. Like this team has to survive like a gauntlet of horror movie monsters, right? It's got to go through the thing. Like
Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, exactly. So these are your 5 people for Cabin in the Woods, right? Where it could be one of many things trying to take them out. They have to survive.
All right. I'm definitely, and we've already talked about this, and since I have the leg up, I think this is supposed to be Jennifer from I Spit on Your Grave.
It is.
Heather is, I think, the new one.
The new one.
But either way, the female heroine from I Spit on Your Grave.
She's the 101. You're going with her.
She's my 101.
Ultimate survivor for you.
She's ultimate survivor because she's crafty as shit. She's smart. She's savage, right? And just gives 0 fucks. And I relate.
All right.
I need that person who's just like balls to the walls.
All right. So I knew she would get picked, but I didn't know she was going to get picked first.
Yeah, it's definitely first for me.
All right. So I'm going to go with Ellen Ripley from Alien. Sigourney Weaver, ultimate badass. Obviously, if she can take on the alien creature, she can do a lot of things. Right? She has that really badass, I forget what they called it. It's basically like this mesh cage with like some guns on the end of it. Mm-hmm. It's so super cool. And she can bring all of those tools and weapons with her because that's just part of her character.
Yep.
And talk about a badass bitch. Like she's on this expedition, right? And all of her male counterparts got. And she's like, yeah, you know what? Not me. And she's like, I'm going to survive through like 7 of these fucking movies.
The best part of this list is just that like, it's all super powerful women.
Yeah.
Power to the women, bitches.
I thought this was an appropriate place to start because women do have such a prominent, powerful role in horror. So
yeah, they're generally the one who survives.
Yeah.
Every time.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you have Jennifer. I have Ellen Ripley.
Yep. How many were we picking again?
I originally said 5.
Okay, 5.
So it's going to be a 5-on-5 battle royale.
Okay. So my next one is going to be Erin from Your Next.
Erin from Your Next. She's like a Krav Maga, like Kung Fu
female
fighting.
MacGyver.
Yeah, no, she's amazing.
Yep. Like, again, I'm going with problem solving, proactive, but strong reactive response.
It makes sense too, because both of these women, you can hurt them and injure them, and it's not going to stop them.
Resilient.
They're not going to cower down and back down. So that's a strong team to start. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to take Carrie because
that was going to be my next.
Because she has superpowers in a way, right? So she can do a lot of damage in terms of being able to survive this gauntlet of horror movie monsters. And she herself is sort of a horror movie monster, which is kind of cool.
I know. That was going to be my next one. I just thought there was someone else in this list you were going to pick first. So okay. I thought I had a safety. So now this one might annoy you. It's going to take away. I'm going Laurie Strode from Halloween.
Oh, nice pick.
Because she's already survived multiple.
Mm-hmm.
These other ones all survived. Well, no, I Spit on Your Grave in the new sense. So if you have it as Heather, whether it's Heather or Jennifer, there's multiple I Spit on Your Graves. Yes. It became an iconic series when they started.
Is it always
the remakes.
her? It's always her?
It's always her. Okay. Which is, I don't know. We never watched any of the other ones, so I don't really know what happens.
I would
but
like
I know.
to. I think it'd be kind of cool.
I don't know if I can take it again. But anyway, either way, they became an iconic series, so we've got that there. But with Erin from Your Next, that's a one-time thing. All right, great. But Laurie Strode, I mean, she's faced the man.
She's a survivor.
She faced the boogeyman many times.
Yeah, and she's just a lovable character. You know?
She's a cool person, a cool chick. She's smart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it.
In a lot of ways, you wouldn't have some of these other women without her.
It wasn't for what she paved the way.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with, this is sort of, I think this is going to be a counter to your Erin from Your Next. I'm going to go with Grace from Ready or Not.
That's a good one.
It's kind of in the same vein of Your Next, right? Where like the woman has to kill her husband's family because they're trying to kill her.
Right. And Your Next is that the son is trying to kill off the family, right? Isn't that what it is? Like it turns out that one of the sons. So it's similar. It's like yeah,
because Grace in Ready or Not is, oh God, how good of a movie is Ready or Not? She's getting married.
I love that movie.
It's so good. Yeah, that whole premise where the family basically does this thing.
Initiation.
It's like an initiation. After they marry into the family, she has to play this game, and it can be one of many games, all of them innocent with the exception of one. And the belief in this family is that the person that draws this card, this game, is our way to weed out people who shouldn't be in the family, who aren't really worthy. It's like this mystical, thing that they believe.
And then they have to hunt her down.
She draws the hide and seek card game.
It's the worst.
Right? And how about the song that plays on the record player, the hide and seek song? Yeah. God, that movie's great. Yeah, I'm going with Grace. Good. I love Grace.
I love that too. I think that it's interesting because it is kind of like a side by side. So then I'm thinking to myself, like, all right, you have a supernatural person.
Mm-hmm.
Like my only option there on this list, I don't want Alice from Resident Evil would be, but she's not. She's more like super powery, like super strength. She is kind of superpower.
She's like a little superhero-y.
All right, I'm gonna take her.
All right.
I need someone with like
you want to counter
a little
the
less human
part of it.
Yeah, I need someone a little less human.
Mm-hmm. Especially because I think you have like a lot of the same thing going on. You want to diversify your squad.
I definitely want to diversify, but I think that they're different in a way. But yes.
Okay. All right, so your team so far is Jennifer or Heather for I Spit on Your Grave. We don't know which one. It would be the original.
Either way, it's a badass
I think it's
bitch
Jennifer, yeah.
Who cuts off dicks and melts
you
men's
have
faces.
Erin from Your Next, and you have Laurie Strode from Halloween, and you have Alice from Resident Evil. That's 4.
Yeah.
And I have 3. I have Ellen Ripley, I have Carrie, and I have Grace from Your Next.
So who's your 4th?
I'm going to go with Sarah from The Descent.
Really?
Yeah, so Sarah is...
It's interesting.
I mean, this movie is freaking scary too, The Descent. I was scared out of my mind watching this thing. Like the creatures looked awesome. And the fact that she is stuck in this claustrophobia nightmare.
Yeah.
In the pitch black, like, and like trying to figure out, not only do I have to get out of here, which is a nightmare in and of itself, getting stuck in one of these like small little cave things, these people that go cave diving, like what the fuck? So not only that, but there's also like these creatures that are trying to kill me. For anybody to be able to get through that, you can be on my team. So Sarah from The Descent.
I mean, that girl's seen some shit. Is what you're saying. This is hard now.
I mean, if it's too hard, we could just cap it at 4. We don't have to go to 5. We're making the rules up as we go.
I mean, technically it's a team of 5 because we're on it.
We're on the team with them?
Yeah, isn't this
okay, so
team?
my team has to survive and your team has to survive.
Yeah, like we're part of the team.
Right.
So it's also like, what's the skill set that you're bringing to the table? Like, you're a dude with 4 women.
Yeah, so then I'm the 5th person is what you're saying?
Yeah, it doesn't really work, I guess, then.
No, I think it works. I actually like that whole idea of...
Like, I have no dude on my team.
I'm drafting a team to help me survive a horror movie.
And it's all women, and me, I don't have a dude on my team.
Well, you can't.
Yeah. All right, so then call it that.
All right, so the final tally is you have Jennifer from My Spin on Your Grave. You have Laurie Strode from Halloween. You have Erin from Your Next, and you have Alice from Resident Evil.
Yep.
Right? I have Ellen Ripley from Alien, Carrie, Sarah from The Descent, and Grace from Ready or Not.
Oh, what's really going to crush me is that you got Carrie.
No, because concerned. Alice from Resident Evil is a huge feather in your cap. That was a good pick.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll let the audience decide. We'll do a little poll on Instagram probably.
Yeah, we'll share these lists side by side and you'll tell us who wins.
Oh, also, by the way, I want to make a small correction to our podcast before I forget, because I keep forgetting to gloat and rub this in your face.
What?
That Amityville Horror
oh my God.
actually came in last.
This is like 4 episodes ago.
I don't care. I hated that movie that much that I had to bring it up again because we recorded that podcast and you were winning the poll. Yes. And then we finished the podcast after we had announced that you won, that Poltergeist was worse. And then later on, no, when the polls closed, fucking election fraud on your behalf. Okay.
It's not election fraud if the votes were added after. Okay. Like the timeline was complete.
Will you concede?
No.
You must concede.
I will not concede because I had to check the final results prior to the discussion and prior
I hope you
to
get crushed.
The discussion.
I hope you get crushed in this new poll.
This is some bullshit. I could not have foreseen that more people would respond after we had filmed the actual podcast. So I will not concede that the decision changed after the fact, but I will agree that post the episode, the results were different.
Fine. So where does that leave us? Amityville Horror is last?
You can't go back and change history.
Unbelievable. All right. Until next time, my friends.